I'm Jay and welcome to Jay Designs. Today we're going to be talking about off-road floor jacks. Ever since Harbor Freight released their Badlands floor jack in SEMA this year, people have been, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, a bit of a niche thing, but it seemed to kind of taken off in popularity, and I wanted to just think about the different options for jacking up your off-road vehicle, because in my opinion, having those kind of Badlands style off-road floor jacks are absolutely not the best option for jacking up a four-wheel drive. And I'll go ahead and state that I'm biased here. I genuinely think that these off-road jacks are one of the dumbest trends to hit the off-road industry in a very, very long time, but people seem to be absolutely in love with these floor jacks. Probably the worst trend to hit the off-road industry was angry eyes on Jeeps, but the thing about angry eyes on Jeeps is that is a subjective thing. When it comes to an off-road floor jack, there are like some objective reasons as to why those are absolutely not the best reason for jacking up your four-wheel drive, which we'll get into in this video. So probably one of the biggest cons to one of these off-road floor jacks is this right here. This is a factory jack that has a dedicated mounting position in your vehicle, is super lightweight, is essentially free because it came with your vehicle, and guess what? Those are 35-inch tires. That's a factory jack, and this guy will still get this truck off the ground. I'm about to show you. Yeah, it may be a little bit fiddly to go put these handles on, but I guarantee you it's going to be a huge pain to go pull a giant 70-pound jack out. So these off-road floor jacks are like 70 pounds versus your factory jack, which you can pick up and walk right across a grassy area. So one of the biggest things of these off-road floor jacks is those big tires. You can go look up a bunch of reviews that people have on these things. These off-road floor jacks are going to struggle across something as simple as the terrain I'm on right now. So it's just a grassy area. It's relatively soft. But those tires are definitely going to struggle going across this. This isn't going to struggle because you could just pick it up and take it to where you need. Somebody else's vehicle, doesn't matter. And then if you're in some sort of mud and rut scenario, if you're in deep sand or snow, those wheels are doing absolutely nothing for you. You are picking up a 70-pound jack and taking it to where it needs to be used. So there it is. That is a factory jack, jacking up a truck on 35-inch tires. And check this out. That tire's off the ground. There's our jack. That tire's also off of the ground. Who in their right mind wants to spend $300 to go replace a factory jack that works totally fine? The only reason I could see this jack working is for someone with like absolutely massive tires, but I would argue this factory jack would work if this truck were on 37s or maybe even 40-inch tires. Because if you see where it's jacking up there, I'm jacking up in the center point, which gets both tires off of the ground. If I had jacked up underneath the lower control arm there, it would have been even easier. And this jack isn't even fully extended, so there's this secondary sleeve here that'll come up to about here. So we've got another, I don't know, maybe 4, 5, 6 inches to continue lifting this truck up. Yeah, it's a bit of work to crank on this versus pumping on some sort of a hydraulic thing, but we're really in no rush here. Most likely if you're pulling this jack out where you're off-road or in the middle of nowhere, sorry about that sun. Most likely if you're jacking up this truck when you're out in the middle of nowhere, you don't need to be in a rush anyways. Most likely something's broken, you ain't freaking going anywhere. All right, so I'm really trying to see like the upsides to having one of these off-road floor jacks. I guess you could argue there's a ton of so there's a flat belly underneath, whether you're looking at a Pro Eagle or whether you're looking at a Badlands. Well, those flat bellies on those jacks prevent them from sinking in a soft surface. Again, factory jack, block of wood, it's literally free. I don't see why anyone would spend $300 to $600 on an off-road floor jack, because that works just fine. So now let's get into the weight aspect of one of these off-road floor jacks. I think it's absolutely hilarious that when Harbor Freight released their off-road floor jack at SEMA, they're like, it's only 70 pounds. Weight has a tendency to break things. So Exhibit A here, there's a stick, no weight on it. It supports just fine. If you take and add some weight onto it, it breaks. Now that is a very rudimentary example, I understand that. But the point is as you start adding more and more weight to your vehicle, you're gonna increase the likelihood of breaking things. So if you're not breaking something when it comes to weight, you're definitely gonna be putting more wear into your vehicle. So especially if you got this off-road jack mounted behind your rear axle. Your rear shocks are going to be dealing with the weight of that thing solely, so it's going to put more heat into those shock absorbers. It's going to break down that fluid quicker. Another component that is going to wear quicker with additional weight is brakes. So obviously if you accelerate a weight, you've also got to stop it. You know, your vehicle stops things by actually wearing down its brake pads. In the case of an automatic transmission vehicle, you're putting more heat into the transmission to accelerate more mass. And I know, right, if 70 pounds isn't a tremendous amount, these trucks can take way more than that. But the point is you are adding additional stresses to the vehicle as you add more weight. And those are just a few components that are going to be stressed that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure some commenters can think about some other components that are going to have additional stress because of that weight. The other big thing about weight is it affects your fuel economy. We all like getting out to nice, beautiful locations like this, and we have to drive out to them with our vehicles, and fuel economy is a very important thing. More weight means more friction on the tires, and therefore you're going to get a little bit worse fuel economy for an unnecessary jack. The other thing with additional weight that's going to be added to your vehicle when you're putting one of these off-road jacks on your vehicle is it's going to make it less fun to drive. So when you add weight to your vehicle, it makes the acceleration slower, it makes the cornering abilities worse. You're probably going to be able to attempt less off-road obstacles too, because that additional weight's going to tend to push you over in like soft sand or mud on hills, stuff like that. Wouldn't it be absolutely hilarious if somebody mounts one of these off-road jacks to the vehicle and the additional weight of this jack is what ends up breaking the vehicle? Like, you'd buy one of these off-road jacks to help you in a scenario where you broke your vehicle, but because of the additional weight of this jack, you broke your vehicle. The weight aside, this thing is absolutely massive. So it's almost a foot tall by 30 inches long. It is not a small object. So maybe one of the only reasons why I can see why you'd want to use one of these off-road jacks is if you've got absolutely massive tires. I would even bet I can jack this truck up on 37s. And there are options, which we'll talk about in a second, is if you maybe got a Jeep and you're on 37s. I know they have those weird scissor jacks. To you Jeep owners, you can get this awesome factory jack base from AEV that has a dedicated mounting position inside of the vehicle and supports up to 37-inch tires. Us Toyota owners aren't lucky enough to get anything from AEV. But anyways, if you're on some super technical off-road trail where you think, and you brake, where you think you're going to need one of these off-road jacks, I would argue there are far better options out there. One is a bottle jack. Go look a couple up on Amazon. They have plenty high lift heights and they're way cheaper than $300 or $600 if you're looking at a Pro Eagle. The other one I think pretty much everyone is familiar with. So this right here is a farm jack, or a high lift jack as it's more commonly known. And it has a lot of options that a floor jack just cannot. One is if you don't have a winch, you can actually rig this thing up to do winching operations. You need a chain and a strap to do that, but it can do that, and an off-road floor jack cannot. Another really cool thing is, say my truck's in like a muddy rut scenario. I've actually done this before, and the two tires are sitting in ruts, you're bellied out or you're on your diff. What you can actually do is you can go in and use that high lift jack. You jack up the rear of the truck so the tires are out of the ruts, and then actually push the truck over sideways off of the jack, and then the tires actually fall outside of the ruts. So I think that is a really cool option that you can do with a high lift jack, of literally shifting the entire vehicle over in the middle of a track. So now I guess one argument against that is, well, I don't have armor on my car, because you need a high lift jack. With a high lift jack, you need to be able to pick up on sliders or a bumper or something like that. I would argue that point, if you're on a trail that's actually hard enough to brake your vehicle, where you're going to need some sort of a high lift jack or one of these off-road floor jacks, you're probably already going to have armor on it. You're going to have sliders, you're going to have rear bumpers. So in that case, just get a high lift jack over one of these off-road floor jacks. Doesn't make sense to me. Speaking to this off-road jack, I actually don't even carry one of these off-road jacks. I just got it out here for this video. Obviously, I think a factory jack works totally fine. A better alternative to that farm jack is just go buy yourself a winch. Mine's a remote mount, so it's sitting in the cab here. I can mount it on the front or back of the truck. Hey, here's another thing that these off-road jacks are bad at. So Harbor Freight's website here, if you scroll down right here, minimum height, 6¼ inches, 6 inches for a Pro Eagle, according to Harbor Freight. If you look at a normal jack, this height right here on jacks has been getting smaller and smaller for years. This is a Harbor Freight jack as well, and a very nice one, I will say. But look at its minimum height, 3¾ inches. That jack is a jack I would consider buying. Because of those big wheels, the minimum height of this jack is 6¼ inches or 6 inches. That is not going to fit under your wife's car or your girlfriend's car or your mom's car, which I don't have both a wife and a girlfriend, but I do have a mom, believe it or not. You know, I work on cars like that all the time. A normal jack would fit under there. This jack is only going to be for off-road vehicles, or maybe if they got a Subaru, you would be in luck. And I do want to note real quick, I am not a Harbor Freight hater. So right here in this box, this is one of the best thing about Harbor Freight tools. These are all Harbor Freight step bits. These things are all amazing. It's like 10 bucks for a whole set and you get 3 of them. Also, I really like those Harbor Freight Apex winches. I have a couple of friends that have those and they've been pretty reliable for them. They pull super hard. They have a wireless remote and obviously they come in at a great price point. Where is that wrench? I have to show some love to Pro Eagle too. This is one really cool thing. So this is a ball, a 2-inch ball that's going to replace the head of the jack. And that's really cool because you can use the jack to like jack up the nose of a trailer and then you can roll the trailer around with the jack because it's got like, they got little bearings in those big dumb wheels. So it's going to roll really freely. But obviously even that you're doing on a concrete surface. In my opinion, these off-road floor jacks are just not right for your vehicle. So if you review all the cons of these things, your factory jack works totally fine for 90% of the people that are going to go out there off-roading. The size of these off-road floor jacks are absolutely massive. The weight of them is going to give you bad MPG. It's going to make your vehicle less fun, and it's going to wear your vehicle quicker. And there are plenty of alternatives out there. And the cost of these things, how could I forget the cost? $300 to $600. I don't know. Leave a comment. Let me know if I'm missing anything. I'm just one person. There's potentially thousands of you. And I'm not just saying leave a comment because that's what helps YouTube videos do well. I'm telling you to leave a comment because I genuinely don't understand why there are so many people that think these jacks are like the best thing since sliced bread. Please let me know if you've liked this video because I can do more like them. Another useless item that you can add to your 4-wheel drive that just also happens to be very, very expensive is those winch line shackle mount things. They look like this. If this is you, I'm sorry, I took a picture of this at a truck show. Hopefully we can still be friends. And another thing that you can spend a lot of money on is a dual battery setup. Those are not totally useless. They definitely have their applications. They're right for somebody, but there's a far better option in the market, and that comes in the form of a lithium-ion starting battery. If you're interested in learning more about either of those two, let me know and I'll do videos on them. So I do want to note, I usually don't do videos like this on this channel. Usually what I'm doing is I'm building cool stuff for this truck right here or going on adventures with it. And that custom flatbed that you've seen in the video is for this guy right here. So it's hard to see that. It's raining outside, so I can't take it out now. But that is a totally custom camper for a totally custom flatbed. So videos that are coming to the channel very soon. We're gonna update on my 4-corner air system here. There is an air compressor under the bed with a nice little dryer right there. And I'm gonna do a video on how you can mount 35-inch tires to any Toyota with no lift and no upper control arms required.